Hello, welcome to my channel. In this video I want to discuss with you life and work of the artist Ivan Kramskoy. He is one of the founders and leaders of the Russian art movement named Peredvizhniki, or the Wanderers. During my discussion of this artist, you will see the process of creating a copy of Kramskoy's painting Children in the Woods. In order to get acquainted with his life and views, I choose the book Kramskoy by Vladimir Porodominsky. This book is a study of life of the artist. It describes his experience, his creative pursuits, and Kramskoy's reflection of the essence of art. The author wrote this book on the basis of the letters by artists and contemporaries of Kramskoy, as well as data on art history. Nevertheless, it's not done in academic rigor. This book is a novel, a story, a work of fiction. The author tries to immerse us in the year. He carefully describes the atmosphere of the city, paying special attention to details of the events taking place. When you read this book, you are literally transported into the world of the artist Peredvizhnik. Therefore, it reads not as a simple biography or study of the history of art, but as an interesting work. Why did I choose Ivan Kramskoy to discuss with you? He is one of the main artists of Russian realism of the second half of the 19th century. He is the leading ideologist of the Wanderers Association. You must have seen Kramskoy's most famous works, or at least heard about the Russian Peredvizhniki. For me, the work of artists of this movement is an ideal to which I aspire. Therefore, understanding the creative foundations of activity of the main inspirer of this movement is important to me. Moreover, in my opinion, understanding of ideological foundation of the activities of various artists will be useful not only to people who associate the activities with painting and art, but also to a wide range of people who are interested in culture. The book is structured around key life situation of Kramskoy and around the creation of specific works. I would like to discuss only specific plots. First of all, the creation of Wanderers Association. Why did it arise? Why was it so important to create it? And what ideas lay behind its creation? The entire life of Kramskoy was turned toward finding creative freedom. He strove to find a condition in which he could pursue those subjects that he considered significant for the advancement of art, for its contribution to society. This path began when he was still a student at the Academy of Fine Arts. The Academy dictates for its students not only the rules of academic style, but also the subjects that artists should paint. For the Academy, only historical and religious topics were considered significant, while the young students of the Academy wanted to represent current topics, the ones that would be in demand in society. The lack of creative freedom led to a student revolt. At the final competition, the Academy's best students refused to participate, petitioning for their expulsion. The best students turned down the opportunity to gain a 6-year pension in Italy. The remaining contestants were given the opportunity to become art teachers and a rank in the civil service. As a result, 14 of the Academy's best students were essentially left with nothing, and in order to stick to their convictions and to find the opportunity to become free artists, they organized the Artel of artists. They agreed to live together and work in shared studios, thereby saving a great deal of money on rent. The members of the Artel took orders for various artistic activities and gave part of their income to a common fund. The Artel was economically successful. The member artists developed and received significant orders. It was partly its success that led to its dissolution. Some members stopped paying dues, some artists began to leave the Artel because they were making good money themselves, which angered Kramskoy as its ideological inspirer. But the decisive event was that one of the members of the Artel, Dmitry Orenbursky, secretly from the other members, submitted an application to the Imperial Academy of Arts for a 3-year pension abroad, which was granted by Academy's council. Kramskoy demanded his expulsion from the Artel. but did not find support among the members of the organization, as a result of which he left it himself, and later the Artel was finally dissolved. Kramskoy took these events hard. His ideas of joint service to art, collaborative creativity, and bringing change to society through collective effort were shattered. The Artel was not just a successful economic enterprise, but it was a community with various events, drawing Thursdays, lectures on contemporary art problems, a catalog album was published, and charity raffles were held within the framework. Kramskoy's dream was to create a community of free art servants who could defeat the rigidity of Academy of Arts and create a new art that would serve the public good. Nevertheless, Kramskoy was able to find a new initiative that could be a reflection of his ideas. Мясоедов proposed the creation of the Association of Peredvizhniki. The charter of the association started. The aim of the association is to arrange itinerant art exhibitions in all the cities of the empire in order to give the people of the province an opportunity to get acquainted with Russian art, to develop love for art in society and make it easier for artists to sell the works. More than half of the paintings in the first Peredvizhniki exhibition were landscapes. The remaining half were portraits and genre paintings. All of these paintings represented a unified image of Russian life and nature. This exhibition embodied the comprehension and cognition of national life. At this exhibition, Kramskoy presented a work called May Night from Gogol. At first glance, this painting did not seem very appropriate for this exhibition. The mystical, fantastical image contradicted the objective portrayal of Russian life in the paintings of other artists. However, all the visitors of the exhibition did not reproach the work for its inconsistency with the theme. Kramskoy began work at the painting as a series of pieces on Gogol, but later the paintings broke away from the source material and took on a life of its own. Kramskoy tried to embody in the mystery of the Ukrainian night the mystical and magical feeling it evokes in him. In it are both the feelings and experience from his childhood when he lived in the border with Malorussia, and the mystical feeling arose in him when he arrived in the village of Khoten to work on the painting. He put it this way: "Such a feeling overtook me, and it's good here, and it's hard. Here it is, nature." Therefore, special attention in the painting is paid to the nature, the mystery of Ukrainian night. The essence of the landscape is not the expression of nature as it is, but the felt and reflected, spiritualized by perception. The uniqueness of this work lies to the combination of the real and the mystical. It has both the magic of nature, the national, together with Gogol's mystical embodiment of beliefs, and the realistic with obviousness of everyday life and figurative. Kramskoy said that Savrazov's Rooks were the best landscape work at the first Peredvizhniki exhibition. There is a soul in them. The presence of the soul is a key characteristic of the value of painting. It's difficult to verbally express that content is put in this concept. We can try to describe it as an opportunity to realize, to understand nature in its unity, but not just as a single entity, but as an amalgamation of independent autonomous elements in their unity. The artist's task is not just to reflect this unity, but to assemble the wholeness from self-sufficient units. This idea applies not only to landscape painting, but to painting in general. Kramskoy is mostly known as a portrait painter. Most of his works are portraits. And the uniqueness of his work was not only in the accurate expression of facial features of the human figure, but in reflection in the picture of the soul of this person. For Kramskoy, painting portraits was not just an hour-long session with a person, but first and foremost a reflection on a person, a study of a person. Kramskoy could nurture a portrait for years, studying it, making sense of it. He can beg people for sessions to portray those who are interested of him, to the art and during the session he absorbs every second, every moment, and never let go of these characters in time. He is consumed by the work, it doesn't let him go, and he doesn't let it go. Tries with all his might to get to the soul and to piece it back together again. So accurate that his acquaintances are struck by the similarity of the portraits, seeing not just a similar image, but a familiar personality. For the artists Peredvizhniks, the portrait of the soul nature, the soul personality, the soul nation become the main goal. Realism, emotional perception, genre building, all this serve to reflect and awaken the people's soul. This was what Kramskoy was guided by in his ideals. He said that art is always social and should focus on topics that are important to society. Art redefines human lives, gives people an outsider view of the situation, and invites reflection and thereby improves society. This is the great goal of painting and Kramskoy's aspiration. At the same time, Kramskoy's commitment to service of art became too difficult task for him. He suffered from his lack of freedom all the time. He had to take on portraits that did not interest him and put aside his genre works because of financial difficulties. He agonized over the fact that he never had time to do the work he wanted to do, the subjects that troubled him. He was burdensome with his status of a portrait painter, considered it his curse, and the inevitability of the circumstances that surrounded him. However, contemporaries pointed out that Kramskoy exaggerated his strategy. Certainly he did not or could not realize much, but nevertheless most of his portraits were painted on his initiative. They were all not only significant for the artist, but made a significant contribution to art. They become a reflection of the individual in history. These portraits fit that criterion of having a soul in paintings and constitute true art. Most importantly, Kramskoy never deviated from his ideals throughout his life. He always strove for creative freedom and tried to paint what excited him. Even though he did not always succeed, he strove to stay on his path. To summarize, it's worth nothing that for Kramskoy as an artist the most important thing was to serve art and society. The creation of the Wanderers Association and his rejection of the academy were for him not just a rebellion against the rules and an opportunity to market his works, but they were actions dictated by his own principles. His work was based primarily on the problems of society, those moments that are eternal for any human being. He began painting after serious study, contemplation, knowledge of the world, and the problem he wanted to eliminate. It's the moments like this that make a painter a true artist. In the meantime, you can see the result of my work. Thank you for your attention. I hope you found it interesting to learn about Kramskoy. I look forward for your comments and likes. See you!